Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Local Content Bill, National Assembly Bill number 45 of 2025, be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, the bill seeks to provide a framework to regulate the local content in Kenya, to promote the local industry, provide sourcing of locally produced goods and services, and for connected purposes. Honorable Speaker, the background of this bill is something that I undertook to take a lot of research and findings in our daily lives, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm a mother to a 4-year-old boy, and anytime I pick him from school, he'll always request me to take him to a certain fast food. Whenever I take him to that fast food, there's nothing that pains me more than to realize the potato chips or the French fries that I'm buying for him are actually imported from another country. Honorable Speaker, this got me begging the question. We are producing enough potatoes in Laikipia. We are producing a lot of potatoes in Nyandarua. What stops these foreign companies from doing a skills transfer on our farmers, getting into contract farming with them, and giving them the opportunity to actually produce these potatoes and the quality that they would require from them? Honorable Speaker, most of us here are well-traveled. Whenever you travel to a foreign country, for me personally, I take time to visit the vegetable sections in the supermarkets. And whenever I visit those sections, I'll always see avocados from Kenya branded. I'll see avocados from other countries branded. And Honorable Speaker, I tell myself, apart from food safety, these indications are put there so that the local people know when they buy an avocado from a foreign country, they are promoting the farmer from the foreign country vis-a-vis their own local farmers. So, Honorable Speaker, I continued doing my research. And this is a statistic, Honorable Speaker, I would want this Honorable House to take to attention. In the year 2024, UNCTAD released an investment report on Kenya. In this report that they released, the foreign direct investment in 2023 was $1.5 million. Honorable Speaker, the foreign direct investment outflow of that particular year was $1.3 million. Honorable Speaker, that tells us 87% of the money that came into our country in the year 2023 left the country in the same year. So we were only left retaining 13% of that money. Honorable Speaker, in 2023 also, the Competition Authority of Kenya released a report in regards to logistics and transport in this country. In their findings, they found out that 90% of the trucks in this country are owned by Kenyans. However, 70% of all transport contracts by multinationals are always awarded to fellow multinationals. Honorable Speaker, these are questions that we need to answer. Honorable Speaker, I go down to mentioning our financial institutions in this country. We have our great banks that rank among the top in Africa. Honorable Speaker, if you go by our largest bank in Kenya, it is already rated at AA at the global credit rating. And that is in long-term lending, and in short-term lending, they are rated at AA1+. Honorable Speaker, this says our banks have capacity to trade like any other banks in this world. However, Honorable Speaker, when it comes to multinationals in this country, they cannot afford to give business to our local banks. Their businesses go to fellow multinational banks. Honorable Speaker, would indicate another sector, which is the legal sector. You find that anytime multinationals want to do contracts amongst themselves, they will always seek and award the contract to a fellow multinational law firm. Then that law firm has employed Kenyans who are going to do the same job. Honorable Speaker, we go to something called auditing. We have, Honorable Speaker, I sit in the Budget and Appropriations Committee, and we have a very competent Auditor General. An Auditor General who comes, goes through our budget and tells us where there's been misappropriation and where there's been proper utilization of government resources. Honorable Speaker, she audits a 2.9 trillion budget in this country. Below her, it is Kenyans who work under her. However, Honorable Speaker, when it comes to multinationals in this country, they cannot trust a Kenyan to audit a 10 billion revenue or turnover. They cannot trust a Kenyan to audit a 60 billion turnover. Honorable Speaker, many times on our phones and on our TVs we have watched foreigners who supervise fellow Kenyans at a site or a particular place. You'll see a foreigner harass a Kenyan. You'll see even in instances where we have watched them beat up our people. Honorable Speaker, in this particular bill, what we are seeking for is to ensure that 80% of foreign companies employ Kenyans and give them an opportunity to serve this country. Because, Honorable Speaker, when we have a supervisor who works around a site, that is a job that a local Kenyan can do and do it very competitively. Honorable Speaker, it is not just the multinationals that are disappointing us. However, even our own government is doing the same. Honorable Speaker, we have institutions that draft and create tenders in this country. tenders that are only suited for multinational companies or foreign companies. Honorable Speaker, this is also a time that we are calling our government to order. We have the Mausami Trironi Road, which currently has more than 20 contractors on site. This is a clear indication that it is possible to break down a 200-kilometer road into smaller sections for us to give opportunity to our local Kenyan contractors. Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunate when we consider that we are funding projects in this country. However, the funding is not domestic, because we cannot be having a project in Kenya. However, every of its other resource is actually coming from outside the country. When we come to finances, when we come to insurance, when we come to the legal, when we come to the auditing. Honorable Speaker, I'll give an example of a foreign company given a contract in this country. They will come in with their engineers, they come in with their architects. When it comes to insurance, they will only insure one vehicle and a third party, and the rest of the insurance, they'll take it back to their own countries. Honorable Speaker, we can't continue relying on goodwill, and that is why this bill is actually Buy Kenya, Build Kenya, localized into a law. Honorable Speaker, I would want to give an example of the country of China. When they first came up with their high-speed rail, they relied on Japan, they relied on Germany, they relied on France. Honorable Speaker, the one demand they made during that period was to seek that there has to be local skills transfer to their local people. Today, Honorable Speaker, China is competing as the leading high-speed rail constructor in the whole world. Honorable Speaker, that is what we are seeking for our country. That for anybody who is a foreigner and coming into our country, they have to deliver the skills transfer to our people so that our people are able to also get the skill and grow in it. Honorable Speaker, I'll also give the example of KenGen. KenGen started geothermal production. And when KenGen started that, we were not good at it. But what we did is KenGen demanded for skills transfer. Today, KenGen is producing geothermal, not just in Kenya, but even outside our country of Kenya, which we call it a plus for our country. Honorable Speaker, it is good that we note that we have a lot of youth unemployment, and where we have an opportunity to create employment for them, we must create employment for them. These are such opportunities. When we reduce the number of exports and profits being repatriated, we are going to be ensuring that our youth in this country are able to get employment and get it as they should. Honorable Speaker, allow me to bring your attention to my county, Laikipia, which is a highly horticultural producing county. In Laikipia County, there's a season we had our onions going for 10 shillings, whereas in Nairobi, the onions were going for 150 shillings. And I remember I would get so many trucks coming to Laikipia, buying our onions at low prices, and then coming and selling them at higher prices in Nairobi. But what shocks me, Honorable Speaker, is how we allow food chain supermarkets and places in this country to continue importing food at the expense of our farmers who are able to produce this same food. Honorable Speaker, those are the demands we are making from this bill, and so that we continue growing and improving the lives of our Kenyans. Another example, Honorable Speaker, I'll give is that I chair the 47 county MPs in this House. And Honorable Speaker, every month we receive a budget of 940 million to buy sanitary towels. Honorable Speaker, I have been through a procurement and another. And what saddens my heart is that every time we receive these sanitary towels, they've been procured from foreign companies. Honorable Speaker, we have our own manufacturers in this country, and we cannot be raising taxes as Kenyans for us to keep enriching foreigners or enriching people from outside this country. Honorable Speaker, these are the questions I'm seeking to answer as we propose to have this bill enacted into law, which is going to be a guidance for everybody doing business in this country. Honorable Speaker, it is also good to mention that prior to my joining the government, I was an entrepreneur. And I remember in the year 2015, Honorable Speaker, I got an opportunity to be subcontracted by a multinational. And what I was doing was construction of radiology departments in this country. Today, Honorable Speaker, when I sit back and look, I wonder what was the role of the multinational in that particular tender. It is my company that did the construction. It is Kenyans who did the construction. But why should we bring an intermediary who is a multinational company for them to be able to get a share of that money or a share of what was supposed to be gotten? Honorable Speaker, it's good I take this Honorable House through the clauses of this bill. And clause 1 of the bill is the short title that provides the act shall come into force 1 year after the date of publication in the Gazette. This is to give adequate time to foreign companies to comply with the requirements of this act. Clause 2 of the bill will provide for interpretation of various clauses as used in this particular bill. Clause 3 of the bill will provide for objects and purposes of the bill, which is to provide a framework for regulation of local content by prescribing minimum local content quotas in various sectors. The second thing will be to promote the local industry and sourcing of locally produced goods and services. The third thing, Honorable Speaker, we will be boosting the growth of the manufacturing industry in our country, Kenya. The fourth thing will be to promote the agricultural sector through sourcing of agricultural produce from Kenyan farmers. The fifth item, Honorable Speaker, is to enhance the creation of employment opportunities for the Kenyan youth and foster economic growth through promotion of foreign direct investments and reduce profit repatriation. In clause 4, Honorable Speaker, is where we are seeking that 60% of the procurement in multinationals of goods and services has to go to local companies. Honorable Speaker, it is also good for us to emphasize that, as I said earlier, we will also need these multinational companies to capacity build as well as transfer skills to our people, because we cannot always have people telling us our quality does not meet their standards or telling us our skills do not meet their standards. We must demand for skills transfer, because we can no longer have it as an excuse that our people are not able to produce what is supposed to be gotten. In regards to agricultural supplies, Honorable Speaker, this is where I have emphasized that it is very unfortunate when we have companies that will go about procuring food items from outside the country, whereas our local farmers are able to produce these items and produce them in good quantities and good quality, yet they are not given an opportunity to do that. Honorable Speaker, for me to get this conversation going, I had proposed that for anybody who goes against the law, we were proposing 100 million shillings penalty and not less than 1 year imprisonment. Of course, Honorable Speaker, we have received a lot of proposed amendments, which include the proposal that we should have a local content compliance authority, which actually it would make it easy for everybody. Rather than us go the punitive way, it is good for mediation and dispute resolutions to take place, rather than us choose the very tough path. Honorable Speaker, the clause 5 of the bill provides for regulations, making powers of the Cabinet Secretary responsible on the regulations for the better carrying out of the provisions of the Act. Clause 6 of the bill is the saving clause and provides that any existing contractual obligations as at the date of commencement of the Act shall continue in force for until the expired period of the contract. Honorable Speaker, this bill has been received in very many ways. Of course, we have received a lot of proposed amendments where we need to define what a local company is and define it properly, because we do not want anybody taking advantage of that. The other thing is we also have to define the foreign company better, so that we ensure at the end of the day we achieve what we want to achieve, because it is not about who gets the tender, but it is about who benefits from that particular tender. Honorable Speaker, I've also said we need to create the local compliance authority, which is going to make it easier for everybody to do business and to be compliant with the business. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, I would want to share 3 statistics. And I will share statistics that are in the public domain and of 3 multinationals known in this country. We have East African Breweries Limited, we have BAT, and we have Safaricom. Honorable Speaker, in my research, I found out that every year, the 3 companies repatriate 59 billion out of this country, out of services that can be done by Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, if we bring in the 60% rule on this bill, it is going to be possible that they will be retaining 35 billion in this country. Honorable Speaker, the question I would want to ask, these are just 3 multinationals which would help us retain money in this country at 35 billion. Honorable Speaker, we don't have just 3 multinationals. We have more than 3 multinationals. They could even be 100, they could be 200. So, Honorable Speaker, what I would want to ask this Honorable House, when we get a 10 billion scandal, we get very angry and we get very frustrated. This is what I'm calling the 1 trillion scandal, because we have so much money leaving our boundaries in this country, and we must look for a way to retain this money in our country for it to help our people. The last point, Honorable Speaker, I would want to make to this bill is to emphasize that we are seeking for 80% of the labor force to be Kenyans, and also 100% of procurement of our agricultural produce. Of course, Honorable Speaker, that is ambitious, because not all agricultural products can be provided by Kenyans. However, as we've given the power to the Cabinet Secretary, there will be exemptions, and then we'll also be seeking transitional implementation of various sectors on what the bill is demanding from them. Finally, Honorable Speaker, many have called this a very ambitious bill. But Honorable Speaker, I want to take us all back to the year 2014, when the Communications Authority came up with the regulation that every broadcaster in this country has to air 40% of local content. Honorable Speaker, we all got angry, we all got frustrated, we all wondered what we are going to watch. Today, Honorable Speaker, our broadcasting houses are at 94.6% compliance. So this is a bill that we can implement, this is a bill that can become law, and it is going to transform the lives of Kenyans in this country. In fact, this is a bill that is long overtaken by time, and the time to implement it is now for us to safeguard our country, safeguard the future of our children, and give each and every Kenyan an opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request
The Honorable Jane Kagiri, before you move, look at what is in clause 4 sub clause 7, which is a very good provision.
Yes.
But why 80% when you consider that we only grant work permit in law for those things which Kenyans cannot do? Why not 90 or even 99%?
Honorable Speaker.
What is the magic in 80%?
Honorable Speaker, this was just for the conversation to begin. However, I am very glad to report that when we presented the bill for public participation, Kenya Association of Manufacturers actually proposed we put it at 94.6%. And if we're all in agreement, I believe that is the way to go for our country. Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, I beg to move and request Honorable Mutuse to second. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable E-Commerce